Hey, welcome back to the Combo Couch, everyone. Pastor Jardula here.
I'm Fiorella.
Now, let's see, how does the audio sound? That's Pasta on the harp. Okay, can you guys hear us? Let us know how we sound. Crackling or sound is good, fam. So, Foxfire, Firefox. Okay, so I've been living most of my life living in the gangster's paradise.
It's been spending most of my life living in a gangster's
Guys, now we can share the Dickens evidence. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I was on the Hill today. I didn't know it was airing today. I thought it was going to be like airing like elsewhere. But, you know, I want to go on my homegirl, Kim Iverson, because like she was still the best thing of that show. And it was a little weird, Kim. It wasn't weird. It was cool. You know, they asked me about what was going on, but they really wanted to make this kind of correlation to what happened in 2020 when a lot of people said that Donald Trump will not accept the results of the election and will have serious problems. But Bernie Sanders, they even played a clip from Bernie Sanders on the floor once again saying Bolsonaro has already kind of said that he's not going to accept.
Which he has said.
He didn't say that. He did not say that. He said that he is questioning the results of the elections because it's an all-computer process.
But
right?
he didn't question the results of the election the time he won.
Exactly.
So that doesn't lend much to his credibility.
Exactly.
Also, like I was saying in the last stream, and I'll have to repeat myself, we went through the whole election process. What?
Oh my God, you're gonna have to repeat yourself.
Well, it was a lot of information that I was saying. It's all the source code is open. That's right away completely different from what we have in the United States, where it's a closed source system. They also have audits, different from the United States, where we have audits. They also have fingerprinting, ID requirement. Can only vote from 7 to 5 in your designated polling location unless you file a specific sort of like a request to vote in transit, which means that knowing that you're not going to be in, if you're supposed to vote in Sao Paulo and you know you're going to be in Rio, you have to file this ahead of time to say, can I vote in Rio? And then you're in the specific list of people that's allowed to vote in transit. Voting is compulsory. If you don't vote, you get fined. And voting is also does not include vote by mail. It doesn't include any sort of ballot dumping, any sort of where people do, you know, somebody can vote for you via your ballot. You have your ID, and they have a list of the voter rolls of people's pictures as well, in addition to you having your digital ID or your paper ID. They do have digital IDs in Brazil. Brazil is very similar to the United States in terms of the structure. And so we have that. And then we have also the in Brazil, the requirement to have been in the system with your fingerprints.
150 days out. 150 days out.
Register.
Yeah. So 5 months before the election, you have to be registered for the election.
Yes, but also when you go in, they check your fingerprints, these two, your pointer finger and your thumb. So you're in the system, so you can't vote twice, so they know exactly who you are. They say that the machines don't have access to the internet. They also say that, like I said, open source. Anything else you want to add just off the top?
Well, I mean, Pasta, where is my shirt? Lucky Burrito, thank you so much. And guys, we're going to acknowledge some people in the chat because you guys have been awesome. You guys have been so supportive. You know, our link will be up there. You can always go to our givesendgo.com, the Combo Couch Brazil. This is very, very expensive trip. I hate to keep saying it. We hate asking for money, but, you know, we don't want to be stuck in the United States. Well, somebody doesn't want to be stuck in the United States. So we're still going to need some help. And, you know, but you guys have been amazing for us to have the opportunity. You know, we're looking outside Sao Paulo, and it's all you guys who made it possible. So we will acknowledge some people by putting their comments up in the chat today, up on the screen. But adding to the situation Fee, what Fee was talking about too, is, and you know, this is something I gotta say, and I'm not trying to do this because I'm not in the tank for Bolsonaro. Fee pointed out that Bolsonaro won under this system before and didn't complain about it when he won. Now he's complaining about the same system. When Donald Trump was complaining and his team were complaining, they were complaining about the new rules that were implemented during COVID. So it's something completely different. However, can you completely trust a full electronic voting system without a paper ballot trail? I mean, you know, they have a paper trail, but it's a tally trail. However, open source is where we want to be at. You've heard me say this in the beginning. Like, the number one thing is get open source, open source. I have now come to the conclusion that I want a paper ballot hand mark count and an open source count to verify that in-person count. That's where I stand. So there is something a little missing here. However, you know, I don't know exactly where he's saying or where his campaign is complaining about where the issues are. We're going to still learn more about the system as we go along, as we watch and observe. That's when you catch stuff and you see stuff and you're like, okay, what's going on? But I think Fee hit it on the nose, and I can't disagree with my partner there. And I love to disagree with her. But in this case, I can't. That he won in the system before. Why are you complaining about it now? Because it's not. It hasn't changed. It's not.
They specifically asked that.
Yeah. Even the machines they use right now, these machines they've been using for the last 10 years. They did use Dominion, which was Diabold a long time ago, but now they're to this new choice called PosiTouch, I think.
Positivo.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's all the machines, the biometrics with the regular machines. They use 4 fingers. These fingers right here. The Lula 1, Lula 2. So they use those fingers and stuff. So it seems like a pretty sound system. The people of Brazil have always been pretty behind it. But like, I mean, you can question and go, can you always trust electronic machines? I don't know.
No, I don't think you can always trust electronic machines. This is why I like a paper trail to back it up. Yeah. That's what they have in Venezuela. Where they have the paper trail to back it up. That's why Venezuela is regarded as one of the best systems in the entire world for their elections, and I can't wait to go see that as well. But in addition to, we can look at Nicaragua that has the paper system, but also had did they have they didn't have no biometrics, but they had the thumbprint, right? We really like that. Very low tech, but I think
you mean at the end when you get the black mark, so you can't vote again. So yeah.
But they had that. Honduras had the biometrics system, and more. Guess what, guys? More. I'm not necessarily for these things. I just don't think we're going to. I don't think society is going to regress back into just doing paper ballots. As much as I would like that the most, like what we saw in the Donbass, and we're going to talk about that. Just straight up paper ballots, hand counting, and all of that. I think society is going to go in the direction of using technology because it's easier, because it's simpler. Now, can that technology be, corrupted? Absolutely. That's the problem. This is why open source has been the sort of compromise that I would want for a system. I want an open source system where you're literally able to look, according to the people we spoke to from the TRE, the Electoral Commission. Yeah. Basically, we went and spoke to them, and they said there is a period where you as a voter can go check the source of your vote. And there's a period where nobody can, because then it's being processed. And there's this chain of custody when it's being these machines are being transported, they're locked, they're placed. There's a signature verification. None of these things happen in a US election. None of them. And so for me, it's already way ahead of the US system. And they also, we asked about Bolsonaro's allegations, and they said that they don't have Bolsonaro's allegations are not substantiated. And these are people that they're supposed to be non-biased, they're not supposed to have a preference of candidate, just like in Nicaragua, the election commission was supposed to have not a preference. Now, that's just the election side of it. This isn't politics. This is like the election side of it. We're talking about the mechanism of the election, right? Now, we also asked, because what about the favelas, right? What about the places where poor people are there? Are they going to have the same ability to vote? Well, we're going to find out. We want to go to these poor areas. We want to go to a middle-class area. We want to go to a rich area to find out how this vote system is going to be. And how long did this take to go through?
He said it's 5 minutes. He's like, you're in and out. Like pretty much there's no lines. You go in and out. They have a designated polling spot. Instead of those designated polling spots, they have what do you call it? The electoral space or something where you have to go through. You have a designated spot, kind of like Nicaragua, where they have actas or mesas in Colombia is what they call it. You got to go to your table or your acta. So they have that same system. I would bet it's going to be very efficient.
You can't vote outside of your polling station unless did we say this already? Unless you request to vote in transit a month, at least 150 days ahead of time. So again, in the United States, you can vote anywhere the hell you like, and you can vote by mail. They pretty much were kind of like not understanding why we were laughing about the vote by mail, because it's such a ridiculous situation in the States.
Well, I mean, in certain places, they have vote centers where you can vote where you want. Certain countries, certain states, they still have where you have to go back to your own precincts, but they're trying to get away with that. In that big bill.
In the United States.
Yeah, in the United States. They were trying to make it mass mail outs and vote centers where you can just vote anywhere. They introduced that in California. It wasn't successful at all. But yet they're still pushing for that because they're pushing it as it's more accessible and it's open to everybody. Matt asked a question, fam, and I think this is important. We can answer this before we go on because we do have some great stuff from the event we went to the other day. What sort of ID do you need to vote in Brazil? We asked that. You need to either have a state-issued ID, like a driver's license or ID card, or they have an electronic ID, which you can get, and you can use that electronic ID.
Electronic ID,
we saw it. Do you have any thoughts about that as far as the electronic ID?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not for this whole digitalization of things. Other countries have the same thing, but it's just the identification. Obviously, it is a digitalized form of your identification. Brazil has that in their system. Like I said, I think people are going to be going towards that route anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just, that has your ID. It has
a secure system.
It has a code. I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not a fan of digitalization of anything, but I think also that's where we're going to go. I mean, I just don't see another way how society is going to move in the direction unless you become a hermit and live outside of it, which, hey, if that's what you want to do, more power to you. Maybe a lot of us will do that. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything that because they have that. I mean, that could be used against you when it comes to mandates, when it comes to, you know, we've talked about these systems of control. But when it comes to the election itself, showing your verification, it's a digital one. It's not just like a picture of your ID. It's like a specific code that is in your ID, right? It's not just like, oh, you're going to take a picture of your ID. No, it's a specific code. Your picture will be in the roll book, the voter roll book.
Which we talked about those too as well.
Yeah, which has your literal picture on it. And then, of course, you'll have the fingerprinting. So they know it's you. Yeah. And you really can't escape that aspect of it. So it would be, I mean, this would be, you know, what the left would call a right-wing dream in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, I think the ones in Nicaragua and Colombia will be way off the charts. Like, oh my God, they're stealing people's votes and they're not letting other people vote. Yeah. He looks at real. What type of ID do you need to vote in the U.S.? None. LOL. And they are pushing for that. It's really, really stupid. The grassroots people within these countries want better ID systems. They wanted the biometrics in Honduras. They wanted it in Colombia because they understand the ruling class can create votes without these ways, and then therefore they can cheat the elections. Yeah. Here's something that somebody said. He goes, here in the USA, if a person commits voter fraud, it's not a misdemeanor, it's a felony. What is the penalty for voter fraud in these countries you are in now? We didn't get to that part. We didn't ask that.
First of all, voter fraud, do you mean like somebody voting twice? Like trying to vote twice? Then yeah.
Or the DeSantis thing where they're a felon and they didn't clear the period where they're supposed to be allowed to vote, which he's going after them for felons and stuff. He's trying to hit them with the felony. Yeah.
But voter fraud happens very seldom in the United States. And here, I don't know what the penalty is. We'll find out. We'll ask. But it would be, I find it with all these security measures, it would be extremely, I have a hard time thinking how somebody could vote twice, since it's so heavily secure, almost to the point of like, whoa, like they have all of this going on, like this is a lot. And another thing, when we asked about the vote by mails, they specifically said that this was because they don't want, they want security, that you couldn't control, there's no way you could control that. The lady, she said this is all about securing our election. So it's hilarious that the left in the United States thinks that securing our elections means letting everybody have a free-for-all and vote by mail, or be able to do the ballot harvesting and the dumping of ballots in some place where there's no security. I mean, this is just, it's just when we talk about these things, like we are literally in countries like right now. This is like the people pushing for these measures are the grassroots, like the working class in everywhere we've gone to, in Nicaragua, in Peru, in Honduras, and Colombia. They want more security measures because there is like election fraud in these countries where they pay people off to vote for votes or to change things on the sheets. So in Latin American countries, and this is a little bit different than how we do things in the U.S., they want more technology because they feel that will secure their vote. Versus in the United States, it's this idea from the left that more technology in voting means that working people won't be able to vote, that the ID laws are being used against working people. We know the reality is, even though, yes, there are, the voter rolls, people get thrown out. We've seen this stuff with the felons. We've seen a bunch of things in the poverty level, how that affects where the machines work and where they don't. That's all true. Yeah. But the fact is, more security in our elections would allow a progressive candidate to get elected. It would allow a Bernie Sanders to get elected because there would be mechanisms in place to be able to trace back if these votes are matched. We don't even have a tally sheet of anything. We don't see shit in our election system.
We have a proprietary software that's our ballots are sent off to count in another area. Remember, the machines are printing out the 5 copies at the very end. Each machine's going to print out 5 copies of the tally sheet. So they have all these measures in place and stuff. And so even in their system, which is an open source system, where it's cast, it's counted. And that's very important. Yes. That's one of my rules. Where it's cast, it's counted. Not let's take these ballots off and count them somewhere else. I thought everyone had to use ID to vote. In Connecticut, we have always had to. I have learned so much from your coverage. Thank you. Lucky, you don't need ID to vote in LA. You don't need it. You just need to give them your information. They put you in and they let you go vote. You do not need an ID. And a lot of areas, I believe in New York has adopted that and whatnot. So no, believe it or not, you don't. And we saw this in person when we went to 10 places. We didn't use ID. We just asked and they're like, oh, you already voted. Cool. Okay, goodbye. I just want to check.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I just want to ask, and I just want to say, I have shifted my perspective on the ID issue. The more, well, I do, no, stop. I do think there's a problem with people having access to IDs. I do think some people,
that's the issue.
I do think some people don't, but it's on purpose. And I don't think that problem is as big as the liberals are making it out to be, but I do think it's still a problem because I have seen the wealth disparity between the machines in Glendale versus the machines in East LA. Like there's no way you're going to tell me that poor people are given the same chance. They're not. They were all given provisional ballots. The machines, half of them weren't working. Same with students at universities. They have 10 machines for a campus of 50,000 students. And you're going to tell me that that's not done by design. That's done by design, both by the Republican and the Democratic parties who don't want third candidates and progressives getting in. So now, but after traveling to these countries where ID is like a thing of whatever, and these are rural areas where we literally have to climb up like a hill, and I had to like hold on to this lady because I decided to wear heels because I thought I was going to be doing a lot of reporting, and we're like, and yes, and she's like looking at me like I'm crazy, and like it's a rural area, and they all have IDs somehow. And a lot of them, most of them are in the biometric system. And if they're not in that system, there's a literal picture of their face with the ID. And if Honduras, a country that's been under, the results of Western interventionism, that has had these paramilitary, complete drug cartels taking over their country, if Colombia can figure it out, I don't understand. There's no reason why we couldn't in the United States. And the reason we can't is because they don't want your vote to count. And it's as simple as that. And we're not crazy for saying this.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that in a primary, the poor places, they take away your vote. In the general, if they have their establishment candidate, they fight to make sure that vote counts. So in other words, in East LA, they're going to try to make that vote count in general because it was Biden, and they know Biden's going to get more votes than Trump. But in East LA, during the primary, where they know that Bernie's going to get more votes, all of a sudden the machines don't work. There's the provisional ballots. They're very, very smart in what they do. They know how to manipulate election. They understand. They have all the metrics there, and they have all the tools to do so. We need to get more involved with our elections. The only way to national sovereignty is through free, fair, and transparent elections. We see this in Colombia. We see this in Nicaragua. We see this in Honduras. And the people there are fighting for a fair system with, like what Pam said, a lot of security. And you don't have to go crazy, and you should make it on a day where it's easy and accessible to vote. Accessibility is tied to expediency too as well. You can't have a system where it takes you an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. We haven't witnessed that. Honduras had some of the longest lines, and those people were waiting like 30, 40 minutes tops. You know what I'm saying? In most places in Honduras, they were in and out. Somebody asked if Glenn Greenwald supporting Lula. We heard that he's not. I don't know. I haven't talked to Glenn.
I can't confirm or deny that.
Let me call. Glenn?
I can neither.
Hello?
I can neither confirm or deny. I don't know.
No, Glenn, this is not the Vanguard. It's Austin C. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's reached out to Glenn. Glenn hasn't responded to him, so I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that. But what I can say is that Glenn lives in Rio, and this is really different territory than Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo tends to be more Lula. Rio and Brasilia tend to be more for Bolsonaro. I don't know if he is voting or not, but he did do a lot of work to get Lula out. I mean, he did the essential work that helped get Lula out of prison. I do think Lula is a faulty candidate for various reasons, and so do a lot of people voting for him. But the reason they're voting for him is for economics more than anything. He's like a compromise candidate. kind of like how Petro was, I would say, in Colombia. He's reaching out to as many people as he can, even in the center and center right, to try to defeat Bolsonaro. And that's what's going on, and that's just blatantly what we're seeing. The people we've been talking about have been pretty honest about why they're voting for Lula, why they're voting for Bolsonaro. The people who want Bolsonaro see Bolsonaro as the candidate that is that is going after criminals. They consider Lula a criminal. They still believe that Lula is, he's taking things for himself. Those are most of the criticisms. And when you ask about COVID, they mention it, but they don't really lead with that. It's been Lula's a criminal. Lula's a criminal. He's not good.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And we've talked to cab drivers that are for Bolsonaro. We've seen working class people for Bolsonaro. But there's a lot of wealthier people that are for Bolsonaro. We have other journalist friends who have been to Bolsonaro rallies and we've seen like the Trump supporters come in from the United States at those rallies, which is really interesting.
Yeah, Steve Bannon and group. Yeah, I mean, they're pushing for this guy, but that's the whole thing. Is that where I've been a little bit changed is, coming into the situation. Obviously, you guys know how we are with some of the protocols when it comes to our health and everything. I'm not going to speak too extensively because we're on YouTube, but you guys know who we are and where we're at and stuff. But it's like I told Fam when we walked out of that room when we met with the MST people. I said, listen, more people in the world die from hunger than anything else. You can't, when Fam would always say like, oh, come on, Pasta, you gotta pay attention to like people's other needs. I was like, yeah, Fam, but this is some nefarious stuff. But here in Brazil, when we talk to these people, I mean, the MST people, I'm sorry, they're 1.4 million people strong, over 400,000 families. They have laid it out to us. They said since this Bolsonaro government has gotten to place, they have pretty much just taken all their natural resources and all the property lands. It's a fight for property rights and giving it to these multinational corporations that are extracting all the wealth, all the food, sending it out of the country. A country shouldn't be that rich with all these things and then say, hey, you know what I'm saying? We're people here. We have people here starving. It says in Brazil, it's digital vote. It's the worst system for fraud, but it's an open source system. So that's something completely different. So, like I said, we have to explain more. I'm not going to sit there and endorse a 100% system. I would like to see mark paper ballots, but we have to see more. And everything they're saying so far is pretty legit, and a lot of the people stand by it. And I don't care what Bolsonaro says. He won on this system. Why is he complaining now on this system?
Yeah, and it's almost 100% digital, but there is the tabulations they do. They're called like the access or the tally sheets, whatever. These tabulations are you go to a polling location, right? And within that polling location, there's an area where there's like you say 30 polling booths, right? So they take the total number of each of those, they add them up, and they give them to the people of each party. So those have to match with the final vote. If those don't match, then yes, they can be, and they go through an audit to see if there's any problems. We don't have any of that. Yeah. So no, the worst system isn't a digital system. The worst system is a digital system with proprietary software. And he used that word, proprietary software, when asking those questions. And he also was just shooting away questions. We will post that video because we did have a gentleman that was translating. And I can understand a lot of the nuances too. He was adorable. It's very technical language.
I'm going to try to do my best. I wasn't prepared for this.
No, it's hard because even when I had to translate from Spanish, this is technical language. This is like you have to figure out what language the technical term translates to whatever. And so it was difficult to translate, but he did a great job. And the woman that was there spoke a little bit of English. And they were really frank with everything we were asking. And we're going to see, like, that's where we're going to go. We're going to see how this pans out. And we're going to follow through with what we're talking about here.
Last comment, and then we're going to move on to the rest of the section, kind of get into what Steve's got some tweets up. Voter fraud is 100% fake. Individual voters don't do anything wrong. At a significant scale, the vote counters are who's watching and who changes the results when they are fake. Let me just say this much, Sam, and I'll pass it over to you. You're right, but on a local level, shit can happen. So no matter what, I mean, the thing is that we have to make sure we have a system in place. Listen, I hear conservatives say all the time, like, oh, it's illegal immigration. People are voting. That's messing with the vote. It's like, guys, we don't know shit about illegal immigration or undocumented workers. We live with these people in California. They're in the shadows. They're not going to put their lives at risk and try to expose themselves to vote for somebody unless somebody would pay them a significant amount. But what you said right there is very true. There's not enough significant on a significant scale. However, we have to make sure everything is clean, limpio, fair across the board, so there can be no questions from anybody across the political spectrum because every single base is covered. And it's really not that hard. It's very, very simple. You can do it.
I just want to say this. The question is different depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the United States, then yes, voter fraud isn't really a significant thing. We're talking about election fraud. Election fraud happens in the United States. It's been happening for a long time, which is why you have people that don't reflect the majority of what the population wants. You have people that aren't doing anything for the population in the United States. In third world countries, in developing countries is what I like to call them, right? What the United States knows as third world countries. In these countries, people don't have people are in need, and during a lot of the times they can be bought off for money because they need to feed their families. So voter fraud does happen in mass, which turns into election fraud, right? And it's a completely different thing that happens in poor nations because there are ways to control. It happens a lot in Colombia, where the Colombians were telling us how they were buying people's votes and stuff, and how this happened. Like this is something that takes place in more working class communities. So I think there's a difference between that and between the wealthier class, the establishment, trying to manipulate elections, and those things happen as well, right?
He just community says that the best system for fraud elections, and the left seems to be the one supporting it in Brazil. But yeah, but the left is doing the same thing again, where they are trying to keep it distracted. They don't want you to listen. Here's the thing: Bernie Sanders is like Bolsonaro said he's not going to accept the results. We're not taking a military coup. We're not recognize these things. Same thing they did in the United States. They say Donald Trump's not going to accept the results. They want you distracted with the BS instead of looking at the actual system. If you actually talk about the system, you'll hear the words open source come up versus proprietary. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they don't want you talking about. They want you talking and distracted on other stuff, not looking at the framework and the processes of our elections. And that's just the truth. And in the last one, election fraud is massive gerrymandering, dark money, machine tallies. Voter fraud is a trope. Listen, when we talk to a lot of people January 6th, we let them know the difference between voter fraud and election fraud, and they were open to it. Like, okay, yeah, that's right. I see what you're saying. So they're open to learn about it. I say it all the time. All we can do is teach people. And anytime anybody brings up illegal immigrants or undocumented workers, as we like to call them, we let them know that's bullshit. It's a falsity. This is a whole body and entity, a group cheating these elections. To get 81 million votes, you need to have something helping you out. So that's all we could do is praise and say those words. Fam, you have a great tweet up over here.
Okay,
taking us down.
We're just gonna go through what we couldn't show you guys last time. So Lula met with these athletes, right? To talk about how sports has impacted Brazilian society and culture. And we released one set of interviews. I did one today. We have a few more to do. But there is also a Bolsonaro one we have to look at. Talk to some Bolsonaro people. Did you do the audio yet or not yet?
The Bolsonaro one, you had to do the translation.
No. You have one that's just audio. That was.
Oh, I have those. I'm trying to get those together and get those there.
Okay.
We'll have those out eventually. Yeah.
So Costa has that one.
A couple of them. Yeah. So do you want to read this here or no? You already read it? Okay. So we go into the next one? All right. What up there? I know, but I didn't know you were going to go through it that quick. I thought you were going to read, Sam.
I did read it.
Yeah,
okay, so according to this ITEC survey, guys, and this is just as of a few days ago, so you guys can see the survey. Lula has amplified his lead, which makes some people think he could take it on the first round. I still think we're going to probably go into the second round. He needs about 50% to take it on the first round. A lot of people, I just interviewed this lady today. She said that she thinks trouble might happen if he doesn't win on the first round. And that does happen sometimes. You know, we were afraid for Petro. We didn't think he was going to get it on the first round, and he didn't. And it took to the second round, and then the other candidate conceded. So it was a little scary because we thought there would be more resistance, but there wasn't. So I don't know. I have asked if they think that Bolsonaro is going to try to pull a real thing, right? Where we're talking about how the military, because Bolsonaro is a military guy. He's got military friends. He comes from
Vice President of the military.
Yeah. And so if he, says that these results are accurate, how likely is that to even pass through? How likely is it even to get anything done? And they said that, like the United States, Brazil has states. And it's up to those states to decide in a lot of ways, and the governors of those states in particular. So it would have a very difficult time trying to say these results weren't legitimate. The electoral commission would have to show that they were, and that whole process would happen. So I don't see. I agree with Costa in that sense. I don't see that Bolsonaro is just going to go in there and take over, mainly because he can't. It would be very difficult, and even the Lula supporters that I've talked to think it would be very difficult for him to do that. So a lot of the stuff that is being pulled out there in the media, oh, is Bolsonaro going to, push steal these elections and stuff? It'd be hard for him to steal. It'd be hard for Lula to steal it. It'd be hard for anybody to steal it, just based on what I've seen. And there's Lula. Costa got a. Where'd you get a high five or?
I got a thumbs up.
A thumbs up. So there's
That was the second time he got me. This time, that time it was kind of cute. It was fun.
Danny Shaw got a picture with Lula.
Yeah, he did.
Danny Shaw.
Danny Shaw. D. Shaw, fam. That's what I like to call him, D. Shaw. So,
New York.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was kind of funny. That was an event where there was a bunch of artists and rappers and hip hop people. We even have an interview with one of the organizers for all this hip hop people, and it's like this gentleman who kind of leads all these hip hop people that really talk about what's going on, the poorness in the favela, and what they support Lula because Lula has always been a champion of the poor. So they're using their art to promote Lula and try to bring Lula back into power. So that's what's going on with that situation. Fam, I got another tweet here from you, and I will copy this.
Yeah, so these are just some more photos of the rally. There's going to be a couple more events to go with Lula in it soon, and we're going to be heading to those events throughout in the next couple of days. Pictures, he had a lot of people. Now, of course, this rally was more geared towards the media and towards like getting that. He's had other rallies that are massive outside. It's been raining since I got here. Like I brought the rain with me from Moscow. It's been raining. It's been cold. It sucks. Mercury's and lemonade.
Oh, stop it!
So yeah, so there's a
lot. You can see the artists behind him and whatnot, and a lot of singing, a lot of artists, whatnot. So a lot of very multicultural, and
we'll see if we can get positive into a Bolsonaro rally because that'll be fun.
Yeah, why are you trying to use me for my white man skills?
Because
What do you mean?
Are we on the next one?
I guess not. But we'll wait. But that was the last one for this one.
Okay. Yeah, so we pretty much. Oh, here's a picture.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
There's a picture of the person we spoke with at the TRESP. This is the Brazil electoral, the people in charge of the elections in Brazil, and they're the ones that gave us this interview. It was nice of them to conduct this. We're going to follow up with them depending on what we see and stuff, and we also have a whole hand manual of the whole thing.
Yeah, somebody sent it. Actually, one of you guys sent it to me. Right there, but you can see there she is. It was kind of cool. We went into the room. We got to speak to her, and Sam's gonna go through some of the stuff. You want to get some of the things translated, right? We had somebody translating most of our stuff, but there were some things like it was so cute. The dude couldn't say audit. How do you say what is the word audit? And he's like audit. We have audits. So it was kind of cool. It was really fun.
And the only reason we were able to even help him and stuff is because elections. And so we know what he's trying to say about that. People have different terms, even in the same language for different things. So, okay, so that's.
Should we do super raise real quick?
We
just got a few. I'll do super raise over on the Rock Friends OTR Trucker Fee. How was your flight? You're probably missing the nonstop beef buffet. The nonstop beef buffet. Is that a Russian thing?
Yeah, Russians like beef. I haven't had very much beef. I haven't had very much. It's very rich. So.
All right, Felix Rabe, you guys rock. Keep it going. We will keep it going as long as you guys keep us going. You guys are amazing. You super raise me so much. If you ain't got a few bucks, we understand things are tight. Share the information. Share our link to our Give, Send, Go. Maybe somebody does have an extra few bucks to give. You guys have been awesome. So please go to givesendgo.com/the Cabo Couch Brazil with a Z. Next time, fam, I'll do it with an S. Robin Gibson, I love you. Thank you. You are still one of my most awesome mentors, and we appreciate everything you've done. Jacob Greismer, thank you for this great contribution, fam. It is always Appreciate it on the couch. So, Sam, there's some good news channels out there, independent news channels. Like one of them I can think about is what's that one with Crystal and Sager?
Oh yeah. So we didn't get a chance to talk about this last time, really. So Pasta said garbage. Hey, Crystal and Sager, do you get your talking points straight from the State Department? Wow, how the mighty have fallen. That's giving them too much credit.
Yeah, because people said you have to be who's the mighty that fell because they ain't mighty for shit. They're shit.
Yeah, so they basically did this. They said Ukrainians forced to vote at gunpoint in fake referendums.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not gonna. I don't want to play it. I don't want to give them more.
I just wanted to show this here. Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, they literally haven't had anybody on, any of us. Like I live in Russia. Okay, I live in Moscow. I know what's going on. You know, I'm on top of this stuff. There's also Vanessa. There's also there's a bunch of people that are on the ground. Why haven't you talked to any of them? Why haven't you reached out? Why are you using the same fucking picture of the old lady who had nothing to do with it? How many times has this lady died? It sucks. So there's that, and that was bullshit. And I think you did mention it maybe once, vaguely, but I just had to point that out. And I know RBN has gone after them too.
They used your tweet actually too. They went to Fiorella tweeted. Yeah, RBN, we love you. Thank you so much.
After them because you know they're mainstream media. I think it was Savvy who said they're it's hard to differentiate between them and mainstream media at this point. You know. And it's like, well, this is one of the only channels that I've seen that's gotten worse when they went off the hill. I mean, they're worse than the hill. They really are. Like, I'm just like, this is so weird. I wonder what's going on.
It's just weird that now they're just so pro Russia and pro Biden, you know.
Anti-Russia.
Well, anti-Russia and so pro Biden and, you know, whatnot. So, Pam, we were talking about this. This is this gets fucking hysterical at this point now. I mean, okay, go ahead.
So this is where we're going with this, right? So the United States is accusing Russia of attacking its own pipeline. We're talking about the Nord Stream 1 pipeline and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Okay, these pipelines, it's right before winter for us in Russia, and I say us because now I live in Russia. I'm so Pam. I'm an Amerikansky living in Russia.
You are an Amerikansky.
And so that first of all, Russians have no reason to do that. It would hurt them. Like, why would they do this against themselves? And also, who stands to benefit the most? You always have to follow the money from this happening. Oh, I don't know, the United States, whose money from Germany, you know, sanctioning Russia and not being able to get a hold of this gas has made their profits go up. We've talked about the Rand Corporation situation, right? Well, that leak from 2022 or 2020 was found to be quote unquote fake. The United States Department has made it very clear that sinking Germany and the EU and making themselves the sole beneficiaries of this gas would help them and would also, of course, vilify Russia, and it would close a lot of Russia's markets. So they have talked about this. They talked about the whole plan in the 2019 Rand report. This is nothing new. And then here we have this. By the way, we had the U.S. drones. The U.S. drones literally conducting these like drone, what is it, like routines, and they were doing like these they were doing like these routine whatever testing as they call it, one day before there was an error, like a leak in the pipeline. Initially, they were trying to play it off as, oh, this is just, it's some sort of, technical thing. And then what ended up happening was that it was, obviously now people are saying, oh, this is a direct attack. And so what's going on is Maria Zakharova is pushing an investigation. They want the UN Security Council to hold an emergency meeting on the provocations against these pipelines. And that's what they went, why are you laughing?
Because I'm just picturing what's coming up, because I know you have a picture of it coming up.
Okay.
That's why I'm laughing, fam. I mean, this is you can't make this shit up, guys. I mean, did you put the Biden video in there and him saying this stuff?
No, you can.
I'll find that as we get that there, but let me just get this in because this is just, guys. You can't make this stuff up. What this? Like, here it is. Like, Pam, go right ahead.
Well, I just said this This article is written deals with fighting urging people to prepare for a Category 4 hurricane by getting vaccinated. Which we didn't even talk about that. But Biden literally told people in Florida to prepare. The best thing you can do. Can you please find that video?
I will find that.
Okay, so the U.S. and the UK are continuing to because this is from the Telegraph. Look at this right here. The Telegraph. First of all, where did they find this picture of Putin?
That was probably just an old picture and stuff, and they just used it.
He looks so. I'm sorry, like I'm not like a Putinist, but the dude looks.
How Putin could have carried out the attack.
So
we have a fucking clown show of a media, ladies and gentlemen. A clown show of a State Department. A clown show of a government. They think that you are stupid.
They do.
They think that you are dumb, and they can tell you anything. And there's a lot of people out here, and thank God they're not watching the show because thank God we don't have a white belt freaking stupid audience that do believe all this bullshit. Like literally, like, oh my God, you didn't see the pictures of Putin going down there, fam? They were going down there to get to the pipeline. Guys, if they wanted to stop the pipeline, they have to switch. They just go turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
They literally.
Why would we get a bomb to make it look like the Americans?
They watch too many CIA movies, but so
I'm gonna pull up the next one real quick while you're doing that.
Well, this is just the article. I mean, look at this article. It's the article I just wanted to show.
Let me get it up on the screen though for you real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, get it on out there. The Convo Couch is on the ground in Brazil. Fam, how's my Portuguese going? Do you know I'm a newspaper guy? Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
So now you can get into it.
Okay. So look, it says, this is what it says. The apparent sabotage of the pipeline between Russia and Germany may have well been set up months ago. So what they don't provide any sort of, and this is a Telegraph, of course, and then they talk about bullshit. And this is, we're not going to start a free trial because
I can pull it up though for you real quick. Let me go. Why you riff and I will go get it for you real quick.
Okay, so we know who benefits, right? The United States stands to make a ton of money. They have already been making a ton of money by accusing Russia of everything, of putting sanctions on Russia, and so forcing Germany to stop using Russian gas, which is hurting Germany. Inflation is already in the double digits in Germany, something that hasn't happened in a very long time. And so the EU, again, inflation, high energy costs. I've been talking about this ad nauseum at RT. I've been talking about this a lot in our shows. This is not benefiting anybody except the United States.
Now they get to sell their gas at a nice high price, right?
Exactly, because Germany depended on cheap gas from Russia, and now the Germans are going, "What the hell?" In fact, what was trending in Germany? I'm gonna put it over here.
I got the article up for you though, so you can read it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll read the article right now. Or I'm not gonna read it. I will go through some of it.
And guys, so you know, at home, you go to archive.org. And then you put it into the machine, and it will give you different stamps of when you can get it. 90% of the time, you can get the article. So if there's something up like a blocker to start a whole thing, don't do it. Just do this, and now I can get this up there. I'm just going to leave that beautiful picture of Putin staring at the camera.
Okay, so let me go through this, and you can see it says 3 offshore lines of the Nord Stream pipeline system supplying Germany with Russian gas suffered unprecedented damage on Monday. Gas pipe leaks at sea are rare. 3 at the same time strongly suggest sabotage. How might that be achieved? With a depth of only around 70 meters, covert entry into the Baltic Sea by nuclear submarine is very difficult, if not impossible. Divers can operate at such depths, although the currents may be tricky, and any supporting vessel, be it a submarine or surface vessel, would likely have been spotted, given the density of the traffic in the area. Blah, blah, blah. It's a risky venture, but Russian submarines are very well practiced at this sort of thing, though, having honed their skills over decades investigating the undersea internet cables running across the North Atlantic. The old Soviet Union submarine force, yes, because the Soviet Union is still in power.
Hey, you haven't seen Das Boot?
Was highly regarded by Western naval chiefs for its ability to operate specially designed seabed engineering assets during the Cold War. For all of Moscow's military humiliation in Ukraine. So which is it? Is Russia this crazy? Is Putin this crazy powerful guy that can just do whatever he wants, and he's just literally going around busting pipelines and doing whatever he wants and killing Ukrainians? Or is Moscow going through military humiliation in Ukraine? It can't be both. And these idiots are pushing both. So they're contradicting themselves entirely. And it says, oh, the Russian submarine fleet has been modernized and is considered a potent force once more. So there they go again. Oh, it's a potent force. It's not. They're being humiliated. It's a potent force. They're stupid. They're so goddamn stupid. So
I'm going to pull up that.
This is just fucking ridiculous. It's just like, I can't even. This article is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, read in my life. In fact, I don't recommend reading it because you will lose brain cells. And so, I mean, they're literally just writing bullshit. There's no evidence on this. They're talking about the old Soviet submarines. They're talking about if this would have happened, this is how it could have happened, and blah blah blah. Like, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what like they're making things up. These small devices, 70 meters underwater, close to the pipelines, could have been left months ago. Perhaps when the world was looking at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant or the atrocities uncovered in Bucha. So they're bringing up Zaporozhye, which is, guess what? Oh, Russia bombed its own nuclear power plant as well, right?
Yeah,
Russia bombed its own pro-Russian territory of Bucha, right? Russia did everything against itself because that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is just a joke, a running joke. Let me see if we can. I'm gonna go here to somewhere. Oh, I went back to oh, there it is. And let's see if there's anything else. Who should have been responsible for checking the Nord Stream pipe for any unwanted barnacles?
Dude, Sam, that's serious.
I'm sorry. Is this SpongeBob?
We can't have a barnacle problem. We have a barnacle problem. That's it's out of line.
I love SpongeBob.
I got a few things that family told me to grab really quick. First off, I want to just get this right here. This is something. This is I hope it's the right one because I couldn't listen to it real quick. But this is Russian. Let me get this up here real quick. Guys, thank you guys so much for coming in today and joining along. So somebody, and I hope this is the right one. Let me see if I can get it up playing it. This is Rock found an explanation of what is happening with North Stream 2. Early in February 2022.
Yeah. Actually, I think that video was in one of my packages, and we talked about this actually not that long ago. I'll see if I can find it and retweet it. Use this video.
Let's see if we get it.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly? Yep. Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Just look at the smile on his face. He just admitted to you that they're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Not the Russians. If they do this, there'll be no Nord Stream 2. And look at that fucking smirk from that guy. Look at that.
They've been admitting that they've been saying this was going to happen a long time ago, guys. They've been telling you what they're doing ever since before the Maidan coup. They've been telling you what they want to do with it. This is nothing. Ever since the fall of the USSR, they've been talking about their plans with Russia. This. If you just go back to history and you go back and you listen to what was said after the fall of the USSR, what was said during the Reagan years, during the Nixon years, during the years during the Cold War years, you can go back and find out the Western problem that was Russia. Because at that point, it wasn't, and even still, to this day, I don't believe it was just the ideology they were combating. It was the requirements of having a world where there was some sort of equitability, where you couldn't make all the shots anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was that as well. And they used, of course, communism to say, oh, this is so bad. This is why we must defeat communism.
Sam, I think we need to go to this important message from Joe Biden really quickly. We wanted to play it.
Let me be clear. if you're in a state where hurricanes often strike, like Florida or the Gulf Coast or into Texas, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now. Everything is to get vaccinated now. Is to get vaccinated. Is to get vaccinated now. Is to get vaccinated now. Everything is more complicated if you're not vaccinated and a hurricane or natural disaster hits.
Bam. Did you tell your family in Florida to get vaccinated?
No, I did not. I should have done that. Get vaccinated now.
I mean, this is just ridiculous.
No, I'm sorry about that. I'll get it said. Let me, you riff a little bit real quick, and I will get the next clip up. But guys, that was Clown World, because we live in a cartoon, and that is a Clown World kind of thing.
So I also just wanted to say, Germany was trending that something about the United States being at fault for this too in Germany, because they're being, I mean, sorry, excuse my French, they're being fucked right now. Like the German people, right? We're talking about the German people are being screwed. The people of the EU, but especially Germany, and I've been saying this ad nauseum, they are being screwed right now. They are not going to get out of this, and so it is. They are pissed because they're like, wait a minute now, what's going to happen? We already have high energy costs. We're going to freeze this winter. We weren't kidding. Vladimir Putin has said this is going to cause a global energy crisis and a global food crisis, what these sanctions are doing. And now with the pipelines, this puts it on a whole other level. Now, Neboja Malic.
Neb, we love you, Neb, and Neboja.
I don't know why we're saying his name like Italian.
Neboja Malic. We broke bread with Neboja Malic. Neb has been on our show before a couple times. The dude is amazing. Hello to you, Neb. Hello to your awesome friggin' wife. I hope you're doing well, fam. He's talking about the Victoria Noodleman.
Yes.
Her name is Noodleman, not Newland. Noodle.
So Newland said, and this is why you have to go back to understand what's happening now. She said, we're going to get Nord Stream 2. She didn't say that. Biden said, we'll make sure Nord Stream 2 won't exist. Mm-hmm. Someone bombed Nord Stream 1 and 2. Western media.
Why would Russia do this?
Clown world.
Clown show.
We live in the clown world, so I don't know what happens, right? Dan Cohen right here was a great tweet. Dan Cohen, who has an article?
He has an awesome video, mid-press on Haiti. He also, this right here, let's pull this up too as well. Right here.
Okay, so the EU parliamentarian Radek Skirovsky deletes his tweet 2 days later, attributing the bombing of Nord Stream to the U.S. His follow-up tweets remain. Now it looks even more suspicious. So let's look at his tweets. So when this happened, thank you, USA. Why would he do that? Oh, I don't know, because the U.S. literally has said multiple times they don't want this pipeline. And so then it was deleted, and he left the rest, which say, by the way, there's no shortage of pipeline capacity for taking gas from Russia to Western Europe, including Germany. Nord Stream's only logic was for Putin to be able to blackmail or wage war on Eastern Europe with impunity. All Ukrainian and Baltic Sea states have opposed Nord Stream's construction for 20 years. Now 20 billion of scrap metal lies at the bottom of the sea, another cost to Russia of its criminal decision to invade Ukraine. Someone, MFA Russia, did a special maintenance operation. So he's a fucking idiot. And he literally let the cat out of the bag.
Well, nobody ever pays a price, so they can do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We talked about in elections, we talked about Brenda Snipes, who pretty much admitted that she destroyed election materials before the 22 months. And what does Ron DeSantis do? Instead of going after that, he goes, I'm going to arrest 20 felons who didn't know they had the right to vote yet, that they were still felons and they didn't have the right to vote. I mean, that's where we're at. Nobody ever pays a price. So what difference does it make?
Yeah. And so there's another lie here, and I want you guys to, because, and I have Eva's, I think I'll show you her election stuff, because we didn't get to go there, right? We didn't get to go to the election stuff.
I would have loved to gone.
But I want to like put all the lies, right? All the things that we have been told in the West, not just in the United States, but in Europe and the UK, right? This is where all these things we're all being like right now. So Russia bombed the pro-Russian Donbass. It's been trying to liberate, because in the media all you hear is Russia bombed these Ukrainians. Russia bombed, these people are ethnic Russians, first of all. Everything about them is Russian. They speak Russian, they are culturally Russian, they have been for a long time, which is why there's been this whole thing even before the Maidan in 2014. So yeah, so Russia has been accused of being bombing the Donbass. Okay, Russia also attacked the Russian-controlled Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, which is their power plant because it's in the Russian-controlled area.
Yeah.
And
They're gonna bomb themselves, fam.
They are. They're just Russian. So there's of course. So Russia forced all the pro-Russian territories waiting to join it for 8 years to vote at gunpoint. This is what's been thrown out by so many people, even surprising people, which we're going to go over. Craig Murray essentially saying that the elections weren't fair. No, guys, again, these are ethnically Russian people who never wanted not to be part of Russia in the first place, as Vanessa Bailey points out very intelligently. And you're saying that they're being forced. Well, look at the numbers. We're going to go over why those numbers are so big here. We're going to go over why those numbers. It's hard for us in the West to understand that people would actually vote for something good. And I think that's and the last one that I didn't get to read, Tim. The last one that I didn't get to read. What was the last one?
Oh, the last part of it. My bad. I'm sorry. I can just put it right back up.
The last one was just that Russia attacked the Nord Stream, its own pipelines, right? That it attacked its own pipelines.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it's been consistently, none of this has made sense. And for years, people have been lied to in the West. And we have all been fed these lies. And so it really is, you just have to understand that this is for a specific reason that this is happening. Okay, so this is a different section.
It is?
Yes.
I mean, it's the same, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to point out that the main part of this section is the fact that the EU, the UK, the West, the media, their media forces of the West are going after the election observers. They're going after the journalists as well. So
our good friend Wyatt Reed, who was supposed to be here with us, was not because he went to the Donbass. And him, please.
So Wyatt not only got a CNN article mentioned in a CNN article, of course, because they're going after him. He also was added to the Ukrainian regime's official kill list. His alleged crime includes a deliberate violation of the state border of Ukraine and being an accomplice of Russian fascist invaders by literally being an election observer. EU nations once condemned the kill list, but not anymore. So there's Wyatt wanted Reed. And look, it's in Ukrainian. There you go. Myro, how do you, I forget. Myro Trovitz.
Let me put it up there too. You guys gotta see this. This is like, I mean, you guys, I mean, holy shit. And you know, Eva Bartlett reported on this. This was reported on our Q2, Sam. Yeah. They bombed a freaking goddamn hotel where journalists were staying. Gazad Murad
Gaziev, who was an
he was at that same hotel. There was a paralyzed or a handicapped reporter that got killed in the attack. You can see right here, this is written now in freaking goddamn Ukrainian. Holy shit. He's on the kill list. Little Wyatt. I feel awful.
Yeah, I mean, but this is, guys, this is expected. If you do anything, like, at all, and go to the Donbass and report the first, they literally put you on the kill list. But the Russians are the ones forcing people at gunpoint. And of course, if we look at Wyatt's testimony, if we look at Vanessa's and Eva's and everybody that's been there, their testimony says otherwise. So now, on top of going after Wyatt on CNN and putting him on this kill list, right? This Ukrainian kill list that Eva Bartlett's already on. And the Braves just did a great story, right? Yeah. They did a great story on Vanessa Bailey. Why? Because the senior parliament member wants to sanction Vanessa Bailey for the crime of, again, being an election observer. And even points out to her work in Syria. So there it is. MEP Natalie Lousseau of France is lobbying for individual sanctions on all observers of the Russian organized referendums in the Donbass region. She has singled out journalist Vanessa Bailey not only for her coverage of the vote, but for her reporting on the foreign-backed war against Syria's government. So there it is. And she, of course, delivered a letter to EU High Representative of Foreign Affairs, Joseph Borrell, demanding that the EU place personal sanctions on all of them that recently went to witness the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic. So they are saying that those votes, of course, were not real, that people were forced at gunpoint. And I just want to read Vanessa Buell's statement if you scroll down a little bit further. So there it is. Bealey responded to Luis's letter in a statement to the Gray Zone, imposing sanctions on global citizens for bearing witness to legal process that reflects the self-determination of the people of Donbass is fascism. Should the EU proceed with this campaign, I believe there will be serious consequences because the essence of freedom of speech and thought is under attack. And there it is, in what the letter that Natalie sent. And so, okay, so you guys should go read the article. I just wanted to point that out. And Vanessa's absolutely right. The people who are being statistic are these people that are pushing sanctions, individual sanctions on people like Vanessa, and are putting people like Wyatt on kill list, and are making smears saying that they're all just a bunch of Russian assets. There's thousands of election observers doing this, risking being shelled, because they all could have been, all of these people could have been shelled and attacked and killed. Because what was going on is Ukraine was shelling these areas while these referendums were happening. So,
and just imagine how like this could be us. I mean, we're election integrity guys. Sam is the one to go to that area. If they would have said, "Hey guys, you want to go to the Donbass and check this out, and maybe if Brazil has a second round, or fly us back and forth, whatever the case may be," I would have took it because I would have just gone and made sure it's a fair election and reported to people the truth of what we see. That's all we do as election integrity observers. That's it. To make sure, and we scrutinize the vote. We would have scrutinized that vote over there too as well. You know what I'm saying? To make sure it's fair. So the fact that they're doing this to Wyatt, and then you got to be put on a kill list. I mean, this is some disgusting sick shit right now. This could be the combo couch in the future because we're not going to stop going to elections ever. I'm never going to stop going to elections, and I don't give a shit what list I'm put on. I will always do the reporting. That's what we do. It's one of the most important things. And look how they're being attacked right now by showing a fair result because they don't want those results that they knew were going to come out that way. Yeah. I'm sure TYT will laugh at 98%. Oh my God, fam. Can I have another cookie? I mean, I know something like that will happen.
But let's be honest. The EU has never respected, journalism. Look at Julian Assange. Look what's going on with Julian Assange. And, and our friends are having an event on October 8th, I believe, on Saturday. So many great people are going to be there, and so many people are going to be talking about this because everything that's happening now, guys, has been a long time coming. They did it to Julian first, and now all of us are coming out, and we have to stay strong. Yeah. So
Vanessa Billy.
I wanted to show this because
love you, Vanessa.
Because look, this is actual pictures from Vanessa, right? She said we were in this Donetsk building yesterday as the electoral committee was counting votes. Okay. Russian DPR air defense could be heard intercepting missiles continuously. Ukrainians were shelling these areas where they were counting votes. Okay. At night, Ukraine Nazis targeted the same area again. These are civilian areas only. This is a war crime. Nobody's even talking about the fact that this is a war crime. It's not just you in a war, guys. There's a protocol. You attack the military attacks you. You can't attack civilian areas. Imagine if Russia and China and all of our enemies were bombing civilian areas. I mean, the United States would be like, oh my God.
They'd be going crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're evil news and stuff. Like, how long are you guys going to get away with this? How long are they going to be able to do this? I mean, if the walls aren't crumbling in now, I hate to use it. The walls are closing in China. I hate to do that, but seriously, why aren't the walls closing in? I mean, look what they're doing right now. They're putting journalists on kill lists for going and reporting the truth to you guys. That's how valuable this is. You guys need to know the truth. It's not up to the State Department. It's not up to the United States government. It's not up to the imperialists to decide what is true or false. That's up to you. And as journalists, our job is to go out there and report that stuff. And that's all Wyatt did. He went out there and he just showed these things. That's all Vanessa's done. That's all Eva's done. And now they want them dead, and they don't give a damn. And here's the thing: if we allow them to do it to them, they'll do it to us. And when I say us, I mean us as civilians. Anybody who speaks up against the empire now is on the chopping block, and it must be stopped. It needs to be stopped. We need to raise our voices. I mean, I hate to say the whole thing, call your senator or whatever, but do something. Let's just make noise about this. This is some disgusting stuff. And it's really, for us, our audience, we know how you guys feel about Vanessa and Eva. when they were on. I thought it was like one of the most amazing shows. The morning show the other day, they have P, Eva, and Vanessa on. It was like so awesome. And how Vanessa getting emotional after just seeing these things and reporting back to you what's going on. Think about all those people in the Donbass and how many years they had to endure with the shelling and whatnot. They were begging people. People in Russia were begging Putin to get involved. He waited 8 years. He showed so much restraint. But enough is enough now. Why are we doing this? So a bunch of freaking globalist empire bastards can go over, steal resources, you know what I'm saying? Control everything? Enough is enough. This has to stop. This has to stop. Am I going to go grab another tweet? I'm sorry if you're getting emotional. Is this the same one? No, here's another one. I'm going to get it right now. Let me put this up.
Okay, so this is when she was entering
I'll give it up 2 seconds.
and Donetsk, and she said, "Help the craters in the road from Ukraine, NATO terrorist missiles. This is 100% civilian area. Schools, apartments, and shops." So let's take a look at the video because then you'll be able to see how it's a civilian area. Yeah, that looks like a bunch of apartments. It looks like Moscow. It looks like a lot of Russia looks like this. That's just the buildings. So that's and this is videos, this is reports, and I'm going to continue showing this stuff because maybe some people haven't seen it. People that say, "Oh, the voting, you don't trust it," blah blah blah. This is what I wanted to show last time that I didn't get a chance to show, because here voting is held in schools mostly. This is what we asked. It's where do you guys conduct your your polling locations? In schools. And in most places around the world, it's schools, libraries, centers where people go. Well, here's Eva's video, right? She said, "I went to schools serving as voting stations for this final day of the referendum on whether the DPR will join Russia. After schools in central and northern Donetsk, I went to Kuiboy-Shivsky with Donetsk, where by chance I ran into Vadim Persarev, art director of Donetsk Opera Theater." And let's hear. I think she did caption this one.
Okay, so here on the
There's no super valid.
My name is Vadim Pisarev. I'm live in Donetsk. I'm artistic director of Donbass Opera, and today is a special day for us. We decide to be with Russia forever because we 8 years nobody care about us. All world just nothing attention for us. But today it's a very important day for our people, special people who born here in Donetsk. I'm born in Donetsk, and I'm glad today big celebration for us. Not necessary. It's if some bombing you see after each minute, 5 minutes bombing, but anyway we happy. We believe Russia. We believe God, and after today you will see it's will be finished war.
And you're voting here, so you live in this district.
Yeah.
This is. Could you talk about how life is in this district of Donetsk?
No, you lived also. I saw you second month you here. Yeah. It's hard. It's because it's bombing. Everybody worried. They don't know. They wake up in the morning, maybe not. And the rockets and everything. Everybody nervous. Everybody don't know to be or not to be. If you heard Vladimir Zhirinovsky, fortunately he dead, but he said about that, about future Ukraine. But nobody care. Everybody think he's like joking a little bit. But it was true. Today it's definitely 100% true. Because half Ukrainians will be Russia, some small pieces maybe, and then, but we will see. But people think about myself. America, she took war with our hands, Ukraine and Russia. But America was this problem was this war.
So as you can see, guys,
Amazing work.
very
by
good
the
work
way.
from Eva. Very awesome to interview people actually living there, living under constant shelling. I mean, he's like, yeah, we're happy in spite of, you can hear the bombs every 5 minutes. That's what he was saying. In spite of that, the shelling, in spite of all of that, he said they were happy. This is a big moment. He said 8 years. People have said that. A lot of
Yeah.
people have said that as they were voting. We've been waiting so long for this moment. We've been waiting 8 years. We've been waiting. We've been waiting. They've been wanting this. We should allow people to exert the sovereignty they want. That's all we should allow. If people want to vote for people, let them. And this is where I'm getting irritated. Where I'm seeing the way I'm seeing these interviews, I'm seeing other journalists, not just her friends, other journalists talk the same thing. And people are still like, no, there's no way, because there's too many people voted yes for this. Why would they vote no? They're literally being killed. This isn't about politics. This is about a fight for their lives here. They're literally voting to get protection from Russia because they're being murdered. And if I were living in an area where I'm being attacked by one sector, by the Ukrainian sector, and I'm a Russian-speaking person, and I'm being bombed by Ukrainians, why the hell would I vote to stay in as a part of Ukraine? I don't. And by the way, they were already not a part of Ukraine. A lot of these areas were already independent territories that had voted to be their own thing. And so the next logical step was to be a part of Russia.
From what I understand, it's getting a little bit muffled still. I think it's a lot to do with the I don't know what's going on, but it's fucking sucks. Sorry for the muffled sound. I do apologize. I wish we had it better. Soaked in caipirinha, it says the microphone. But there's been a lot of people hanging out still. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much. Guys, we're going to get on out of here. This is the last thing we have to do. Fam, I saw something that said something that